Hello, good morning. Well, afternoon, actually, everyone here from the Northeast. My name is Trisha Tate. I'm CEO of FinCore, and this is Dancing with Numbers in Real Life. Today, I'm happy to have Mike Petrina, CEO of Performance Prime. For those of you who are new to this platform or this series, I started the series in alignment with my book, Dancing with Numbers: Grow a Financially Healthy Business and Choreograph Your Life, because I interviewed business owners who were self-proclaimed non-numbers people, but they've grown tremendous businesses, right? Multi-million dollar businesses and businesses with strong brand and brand loyalty. And I wanted to normalize the conversation around numbers and money. So today, I'm happy to have Michael on with me and to talk a little bit more about his business. So thank you, Michael, for joining me for this powerful lunch moment.
It is my pleasure to be here. It's 9 a.m. on the West Coast right now.
Uh-huh. Right. So let's dive right into it. So tell us a little bit about your journey and your business.
So I am a biomechanics therapist. I reverse engineer injuries for professional athletes around the country and actually starting around the world. I also run a private studio, training studio in Westchester, New York, in Larchmont. And the journey to get here was actually not what I thought it would be. And, I started out in finance, market crashes, got to find something new. And voila, here we are.
Wow. So, for those in the audience who are like in, I don't know, first, second, or even growth stage of their business, talk to us about what you're learning differently now from when you started in your business from a money management standpoint.
I would say initially I originally started my business with a partner and I kind of let him take care of all the financials. It was
Hmm.
more like I was more of the creative and kind of figuring out how to grow the business through a different lens versus the numbers lens. And then over time, when we separated, it was more of a you need to understand the numbers in more detail and understand the cost per session, the cost of running the facility, the static numbers, the fixed costs, if you will, and then seeing how that relates to how I can create growth for the business and understanding what are the key metrics that help the business grow versus just saying, hey, we're great at what we do. The more people we have in, the better. So think of it in that perspective is how we started to change the business currently, or I changed the business currently to look at how the numbers affect growth and what specifically are key performance indicators or KPIs that show growth and can prove that if we do these three metrics, our business will grow exponentially.
Well, what's so interesting in what you're saying is that in the beginning of your business, you kind of relinquished the power over the money and numbers um, to a partner,
Mhm.
probably because you didn't feel comfortable with it. And now you're speaking about it. How many years have you been in business?
We're gonna be on our 12th year.
Wow, congratulations. So
Thank you,
anything
thank you,
over
thank you.
10 years for a small business owner is a huge,
Yeah,
huge success. And then a
yeah.
minority owned business, a huge success. Um, but I'm so proud of you because you were speaking prolifically about numbers and key performance metrics and what you're measuring over
Mhm,
time
mhm,
very differently, compared to how you described yourself in the start of your business. And I know you because we were in a Goldman Sachs 10,000 small business program together. And
mm.
I remember this kind of aha moment for you, where you realized, what was important. So I interview business owners in a lot of different industries.
Mhm,
So you're in health, wellness, and gym, right? So some
mhm,
part of it you're traveling
mhm.
and part of it you have a space with people. So
Yep.
what are those important financial and non-financial metrics that's important to a business like yours?
So just to give some clarity on the business side of it, like the gym side of it, we are in a specific area where we charge a premium. So the business is a little different than a typical box gym where people have memberships and they go through the process of, hey, if you want to add on training, if you want to add on different services, they offer them. We are a boutique studio that specializes in specific, or just specializes in training for people going for a certain goal. For instance, if you want sports performance, if you want body composition, if you want weight loss, those different boxes, we have specific people for them. And our growth path is different from most because most of the clients and patients that come to our facility come there for long-term goals. They're not going there to say, hey, summertime's coming, I got to look great. It's more of, hey, I'm over the age of, let's say, 35.
Hmm.
I have kids. I want to be able to play with my kids. I want to feel great. And we notice the trend of people over a certain age start to see the finite in things and kind of want to say, I want to maximize growth and longevity for myself and be
Right.
able to, you know, perform at the highest level, even if you're in, office buildings, even if you're in meetings, you still want to present yourself as a person who takes care of themselves and focuses on that. So understanding that also changes the cost structure of our facility. For instance, we don't
Hmm.
charge a facility fee. It's you see somebody, you work with somebody, and most people are consistent 2 times a week, 3 times a week. I want this goal. We measure it. We have metrics on that. So just to give an understanding of that part of the business, the prime performance part of the business.
Thank you.
And then the second piece of the question was, what are the things that I'm looking at
The
to grow the
the
business?
financial and non-financial metrics that you look at.
So
Yeah.
number one metric we look at is retention.
Hmm.
So if we see that clients are leaving and coming back or leaving and not coming back, then we know immediately the growth would be off. For instance, if I bring in a coach to work with somebody, we want them to hit a certain number monthly to have value to the business. So we have a cutoff knowing that if a coach doesn't hit, let's give you a random number, 50 appointments a month, then we know that that coach either we have to look at retention, we have to
Hmm.
look at education. So those are the two metrics that are the hugest grower of business for us. Education wise, is when clients come see us, most of them are type A personalities, and most of them are master's degrees, graduates, business owners. So they want to know that if they're going to be paying for somebody who's really good, they better have the education and the backing to show that they're the ones who can get them to where they want to be, where they want to go, what they want to be. So just look at it from that perspective. You want to ask a question?
No, no, no. That was great. Those two key, like, sort of non-financial
Hmm.
metrics.
Hmm.
And so what are some financial metrics you look at within your type of business?
So what we look at is the fixed costs, and then
Hmm.
we know that each time you add a coach on, we bring down the fixed costs. So we look at it like I was saying earlier is the amount of appointments done by a trainer. We have a certain number. Let's say 50 is the number that we break even.
Right.
Um, and then we don't want to sit there and say, okay, well, if you go five over, we're in profit. It's not profit that we want. We want to hit to 75 minimally. And
Right.
75 minimally means that the business can grow at X percent. So I know that each individual metric, it goes from 60, 70, 80, 90, and then the 100 is the gold sweet spot. If you hit 100 appointments, we know, okay,
Mm.
100 appointments a month per trainer brings in 26% more revenue, which gives us X amount of dollars in profit over the course of a year. And we look at it from a year perspective. We go, 1,200 for the year because there's ups and downs in training. With our facility and the clients that we work with, there isn't a huge boom in January. Our
Mhm.
boom is post right around this time, post winter break, because
Right.
most of our clients travel winter break, Christmas
August.
break,
Mhm.
August.
August.
August they
Yeah.
go away for like a month almost. So those are our breaks in our business. So we make sure that the person has, over the course of a year, 1,200. Let's say 1,200 appointments, 100 appointments a month. That is the goal. What do we look for? And if you go above that, great, we're happy. And if you don't, we just want to make sure we hit those metrics. So that number metric is each individual session 10 times. We look at 10 appointments after 50. That's the random numbers I'm giving you right now. After
Mhm.
50, we
Yep.
know X percent growth, X percent growth, X percent growth.
And that can cover the fixed costs. Um, so even though you're not a typical box gym with a membership and you don't
Hmm.
necessarily take insurance, you were impacted. You were one of the industries seriously impacted by the pandemic.
Hmm.
So I remember we were talking. You told me there was an important lesson you learned about cash flow during the pandemic. Can you can you share with the audience that lesson?
So it's interesting. There's multiple lessons really I learned. During the pandemic, cash flow was we didn't have runway, as much runway as we thought we would have. So pandemic comes, all of our gyms closed. I mean, all the gyms closed down, so we have literally zero cash flow, no clients coming in. And we said to
Mhm.
ourselves, what's the runway we can do? And then I started to realize maybe we should have a better form of I got aggressive with paying people a significant amount. And then when the business lost about 3 to 4 months of runway, it
Mhm.
literally destroyed how I can like I said, we never marketed. We never went
Right.
through any of the marketing. We never did any of that stuff. And then we just didn't have enough we didn't have runway to prepare ourselves for the next phase of business and changing the business and changing how we operate. So pandemic wise, cash flow goes to zero. Obviously, everybody's cash flow goes to zero. I didn't have coffers because we were spending and kind of going through this process. So when we came out of it, I had to go talk to my admin and say, hey, I'm an aggressive spender. I kind of just go crazy. Your job is to anything that I purchase, if you don't approve it, shut it down immediately. You need to be the buffer that stops me from doing, like for instance, oh, I love this new squat rack. Let's get it. How much is it? 10,000. Do it. Mike, here's the budget. Here's what you can spend. You can not spend on these things, wait a couple of months, and then purchase the item. And it just changed the dynamic between spending and just saying, let's just get it, let's just go for it, versus if you really want it and you're dying to
Mhm.
get it, and maybe it's going to be beneficial to the gym and beneficial to your client base, let's wait, let's save X amount of dollars per month so that we can put it towards the purchase of the item down the road.
And how did you come back post pandemic if you didn't really do marketing and you didn't have cash runway?
One, we were blessed enough to get PPP, but
Mhm.
also communicating with the local government, the county executives, to allow us to open up early based upon our designation of being a sports facility. And what happened
Ooh.
was um, teams for like basketball, hockey, they all started opening up months earlier to get those guys prepared for the season. So sent emails, talked to our local mayor, and then talked to the county executives, and found a way that in the law we are allowed to open up early based upon being a sports facility, and I work with sports professional athletes. So we were
Th-
open 3 to 4 months earlier than everybody else. Actually, no, 2 months before everybody else. 3 months. Yeah.
that was surely a blessing. That was
Oh, I
surely a
mean,
blessing.
we're the only place open. Our facility, and here's another piece that benefited our business is that
Mhm.
we're a facility that's like roughly 7,000 square feet. So
Right.
you can have 5 people in the space, and they each get over 1,200 square feet of space between each other. So we follow all
Blessings.
the guidelines. Everything was perfect. I already knew ahead of time. We already had HEPA filters in there, so we had all the things necessary prior to the pandemic, so that when it happened, it made an easier transition of space.
I just want to illuminate for people when Mike is talking about cash runway, and this is something I speaks about with my business owners. It's how much in cash do you use? Looking at how much in cash you use each month within your business, and taking that number and dividing it by the amount of cash in your bank account, and that gives you how many months of cash you have available. And if you don't have any runway, that means clearly you're burning through all of your cash. So an important, a critical thing to do is to track and then monitor and then potentially reduce your amount of cash burn each month. And I always have a goal of at least 3 months, 3 to 6 months of cash reserves in a bank account when I'm working with clients. So you mentioned that you had this thing about spending aggressively. Now,
Mm.
I know you also personally, and you like nice things, and you like a certain lifestyle. So part of it is,
No, I'm joking.
people. Part of it is people definitely want to take care of their employees and the people that work for them, and I
Mhm.
get that, I understand that. But then you also have a money belief around treating yourself, which is good. But then
Yeah.
certain times you got to pull back. So kind of walk me through like where that mindset came from, right? Did that come from childhood or like somebody you learned it from? But where did that mindset come from about maintaining a certain lifestyle, even in the midst of not having enough?
I think it comes from two things. One, never having. So when you have it, you want to kind of like just keep buying and keep getting. You never have to worry about saying, "Oh, I can't get that," and it sticks in your head for years of, you know, "Oh, if I say I can't have it, that means I don't have anything. I'm broke." Versus, no, I'm actually being smarter about it. I don't really need it. So
Right.
that's happened since childhood. And then there's two parts. My father, in one way, it's funny how it's like a double-edged sword with my father when it came to financial stuff. Like he would say, this is before Amazons and all these crazy things. If you see something, get it because you'll never be able to see it again potentially. So
Mm.
in my mind, I was always like, all right, just get it. Might not get it again. Situation might never happen again. And then also in the backside of him is that I've seen so many opportunities where he lost positions and jobs because of, situations or whatever, and he was just bad with money and it put us in a financial strain. So it's interesting how you see that and you kind of go, well, I want to be better with it. But then I don't want to say culturally, but I want to say just growing up, not
Hmm.
having as much, you kind of want to prove that you have more or show that you have more. And then the interesting dynamic of that is once you have it and you do it, you actually don't even care anymore.
Hmm.
And that's what's happening now. It's like, I have a great year or a great couple of years, and I'm like, I'll buy this, I'll buy that. Who cares? Because it doesn't make a dent in your pocket. Um, but then when you start to say to yourself, all right, I have a spending goal, I have a this goal, and I have a that goal, and a saving goal, which is more important than anything, you start to say, well, I could push that saving goal a little bit more because the financial freedom is the most beautiful thing on the planet.
So it's interesting. I always see a correlation between a business owner's money habits in their business
Hmm.
and what they learned during childhood or sometime earlier in their life. And I remember interviewing you. I'm going to pull this from my book, Dancing with Numbers. Um, during our interview, Michael P shared that before and when he started his business, he was bad at managing money and budgeting. He liked nice things. He loved to take care of his friends and family, and he also had an image and lifestyle that he wanted to maintain. But he admitted that he didn't have the means early on to do that and had to fund his lifestyle with credit card debt. And
Mm,
so Michael P had conflicting money beliefs and
mm,
behaviors that stem from what he learned during childhood, which you said. And after observing your dad lose a few jobs, you became fearful that if you ever worked for someone else
mm,
at the moment, you could be fired and end up with no money. And that kind of inspired your entrepreneurial pursuits. And then
mm.
you got to a place where, unfortunately, the credit card debt, ran up against you, and you kind of lost everything, and you've been able to flip it on its head. And what I get from that is your mindset and money beliefs were a product of your environment at the
Yeah.
time, and you shared with me that the environment you're in now has helped shift your perspective on like buying the latest watch or
Yeah.
buying the
Yeah.
latest
Yeah.
the latest car.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Um,
What is it about environment that has shifted for you?
one, the people I surround myself with, the five most people I'm around, are all financially successful. And success is different for every single person, depending on where you live, where you are. I'm in New York, so you have to make more to live a comfortable life.
Hmm.
Um, but financial freedom, and what I mean by freedom, I don't necessarily mean like, oh, I got 20 million in the bank, I can do whatever I want and life's great. I mean financial freedom in the sense of I can pick and choose who I work with and where I work. I can literally, say to my partner, like, hey babe, we're out. She's like, where you want to go? I say, we can go anywhere in the world for a month and it's not going to affect us financially.
Mm.
That feeling in itself is greater than any watch, any luxury good, any car can ever give me. And I say that, and people have said to me, "Oh, well, it's because you already have that stuff." And you're 100% right. I've had it. I had a collection of. I said this to you earlier. I had a collection of watches. I dumped them all. Get rid of it. I don't care about this anymore. I don't need it anymore because the
Mm.
people who have it don't care.
Right.
There's no
They
correlation
don't
with,
even
oh,
wear
he's
it.
cool. They don't even wear it. I have tons of patients who I'm cool with. They go, oh, I think I have one of those in the box. Or, oh, I had a nice car. I don't even care about it anymore. And the shift was from the people I was surrounding myself was always giving me, well, they were always praising, oh, look what he has, this is awesome. And I felt like I was the man. And then I
Mm,
realized, after traveling to certain places, experiencing certain parts of the world, and just living a very comfortable life, like that stuff doesn't show that I've made it. It just shows that I wasted.
mm,
And that was a phenomenal turning point, because I've lost it all. I was homeless. I lived out of my car. Credit card debt through the roof. Starting a business or trying to do something differently, because I worked for a company, and I worked for a boss who was like, not stunting my growth.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and then at that point, it's like they put a cap on what you can make and how you can grow. And there's no cap on what you can do as long as you put the work in. So it just
right.
changed the mindset of like, when I told you just before, is like the business has 12-month runway. Like, don't want to worry about anything. So there's no stress when you come to work of, oh, we got to do that. There's stressors, but there isn't the financial stress, which is to me the most the most aggressive stress you can deal with of, oh my God, I don't know where the next dollar is coming from.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
the
just
that's the
changes the
that's the
dynamic.
financial freedom. But to give your younger self grace,
Mm.
what was the meaning in "I'm the man"? Like, why was that significant to you to have the items or whatever to reflect that I'm the man?
I think it was a creation of wanting to be something. Creating It was almost creating this whole facade of who you really are, what you visualize yourself as. And people always looked at you that way because you kept doing it, and then you had to like keep up with the lifestyle, or keep up
Mm.
with the Joneses, like the classic term is.
Yeah.
And then the people who love you most, or the people who care about you most, they don't care about that. They just
Yeah.
don't. They just want you to be happy and grateful, and
Yeah.
at peace is the best term. At peace is the greatest term.
Did it make you feel good? Did it make you feel good to be the man?
Partially,
Okay.
but it gave me drive, because I was like, well, if I need to do this, I need to work harder. I need to put more work in.
Mm,
So it kind of it was I think to me it's a great learning experience, because
mhm.
through going I learned through that phase of life. I've experienced it. I did it. This is awesome.
Right.
And now the next phase is, yeah, and I say this to everybody, and people might say, no, it all depends on who you are. When you get there, you have to know that you don't care.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a hard
Yeah.
concept, because it's like not great advice, but it's, you went through it, you wasted it, it was stupid. You look back on it, you idiot. But if you continue to grow, it's a great learning experience.
Yeah, yeah. If you continue to look at failure as growth, it's a great learning
Absolutely.
experience.
One of my
Have
mentors said that to me, just to cut you off. This is the greatest line he said to me. He said, the gift is always failure, because
mm,
you'll always learn from it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, have you had an experience with but well, we talked about credit card debt, but
Mm.
have you had other experiences with lend money, borrowing money from banks or getting investment dollars? Have you had that experience?
So I had an experience once with a bank, which actually is another reason why I changed my mindset. Is banks had us, at certain times they're like, hey, we can give you a line of credit which can benefit you by, different interest rates, and you only pay on what you borrow, and this, and that. But we have certain parameters for us to give you that money, to loan you the money.
Mhm.
Did I really need it? Did I not need it? I don't know, but they always say it's good to have it.
Right.
So, I go to the bank, I meet all the requirements, like every aspect of it, maybe by 3x, and they still denied me for the whole entire thing.
Hmm.
Excuse me. So one piece was, maybe I should start looking at more of a community bank or smaller banks, because they kind
Yep.
of speak to you and work with you better. Um, and then another aspect of it was, yeah, I got to do it all on my own. I can't even trust this process anymore, because there was no explanation. There was no detail. There was no letter saying, hey, these are the reasons why we denied you.
Yeah.
And it just shifted my mindset on trusting, once again, anybody else with my financial freedom, because you know what? They're not gonna look at the person, they're gonna look at the numbers, and if they look at the numbers and still don't like it. Now, I don't know the reason why, still to this day, why it was denied, but I just know that I don't work in that aspect at the time.
Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
after learning the values, and actually speaking with you during our courses and going through that courses, Debt is my homie. Me and Debt, we dance together, we tango, We bailar, we do all that stuff. It is fantastic. And when I say that, I mean debt the smart way, like, blast zero credit card debt, business wise, personal wise, um, tons of savings, tons of retirement accounts. I have all these things set up, but I also manage some debt, which helps business grow, which helps this. So it's a very fine line, and if you learn to dance really well, it is another piece of the puzzle that just makes life one financially free because the burn is significantly less than the income. So
Mhm.
now that the debt services all that, it's like no stress.
Well, beautiful thing. Lucky for you that you don't have any debt. But to your point, I learned from hearing billionaires, right? Talk about being in the right
Hmm.
environment,
Hmm.
listening to them, and they say you could leverage debt or leverage other people's money to grow
Absolutely.
and scale. And sometimes you can't get to the next level unless you borrow,
Do that. You have to.
right? Or get equity investment capital. And yes, it
Hmm.
is expensive, relatively expensive money, and it takes work to get it. But if you have a good business plan, strategic business plan,
Yep.
you work with your CFO, your fractional CFO to do so, then hopefully you could recoup the money and be in a position you're at right now where you have enough cash to service anything and pay it off. Um, you brought
You
up a
see, when
good
you
point.
say that, sorry, I don't want to cut you
Mhm.
off. When you say that,
Yeah,
it's
go
a
ahead.
really important piece that people need to understand when it comes to numbers. When you have debt, you look at the percentages and you look at the percentage of growth for your business, then you can kind of manage, okay, if the debt is borrowed at X percent, my business is growing at Y percent, and the cash flow is at, whatever it is. That's how you really manage it, where you're still getting such an enormous amount of growth with not spending so much on, servicing the accounts. So I just wanted to say that that's another piece that's helped me so much.
Yeah, because that's how banks look at it, because they want to see how much cash you have or cash you're going to generate with the
Mm,
growth
mhm,
in order to service the debt, right? So as a business owner, if you want to be in alignment with the bank, that's how you need to be thinking as well. And typically they want to have a dollar and a half of cash. They want
mm,
you to have a dollar and a half of cash for every dollar they're lending to you over and above the debt you already have on your balance sheet. So
mhm,
that is a very good point. And another point that you brought up is the difference in going for a big bank versus a regional bank or a community bank, where you could build a deeper relationship and they might have more flexibility in terms of rates and things like that. I have seen that
mhm.
with other business owners.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you for bringing up that point.
Mhm,
As we sort of round out this conversation and close out, if you were to speak to Mike Petrina, CEO of Performance Prime,
mhm.
year one, and give him some lessons around how to best manage his money and his numbers, what would you say?
It's funny, even to this day, it's the same 10, 15 years later. It's one, save, 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 save. And it's so cliche,
Hmm.
because it's always like, well, yeah, we all know to save. We all do know to save, but do you put away? And it's hard to do that in New York, obviously, but 3 to 5%. Like, even putting that away into an account for it to grow over time. I mean, if it was 20, I started doing business 23 in this industry, and then kind of like started my own spot at like 28, 27, 28. Still, even 3, 5% at that time can grow exponentially. So definitely save, put money away, be smarter about it, and learn the nuances of the tax code, because
Mm,
you can reduce your tax burden dramatically to where you're really not paying that much in taxes anyway. So an example of it is like, all right, you made 100 grand, you can put 25% away into a SEP account. Okay, well that reduces your tax burden. So understanding the code in more detail is something I would tell my younger self. And then also pay your taxes, because they will come back to haunt you. You know what I mean? So paying your taxes, understanding the strategies that work within that, but save so significantly. But I would say to myself, still go buy the dumb stuff. It's going to give you a piece of
mm,
joy at the moment. Just do it, because you'll learn from it. I mean, the journey has been so gratifying.
mhm.
And then another piece is sit down and don't be afraid. Face the numbers. It's okay.
Yes.
I think a lot of times we're afraid to talk about money and I only say this from an aspect of a gentleman like in the industry and running a business. People don't want to talk about financial numbers because it's almost like, well, if I don't make this by this much, I'm an embarrassment. And
Right.
talk to your colleagues, talk to your friends, talk to people who are where you want to be about how, what should I be making at this age in this industry? What should I be charging? Especially in my industry, there's always a younger, cheaper, more exciting person to work with. That's why the
Mhm.
education portion is so important. But like, understanding the numbers and the cash and the money and not be afraid to talk about it because it's not an embarrassment. Like I was
Yeah.
living in my car paying off my credit card debt. And it's like, well, how much you make? Well, I don't want to tell people I make. Yeah, I was making $0 for the first 6 months, $2,500 a month after that. And don't forget $2,500, you still got to pay the taxes on it. So just understanding it's okay to talk about money. It's not an embarrassing thing to talk about it because you're not where you want to be. But talking about it normalizes it so that you can be where you want to be. That's probably
Yeah.
the hugest point. Don't be afraid to talk about money.
I
Have
I
to.
love I love that point. And I just wanted to know, who did you hire or bring on to help you get familiar with the numbers and sort of normalize the conversation and have a good relationship with it? I know you employed your assistant
Yeah,
to
the
to
man.
deboy you, but
Yeah.
who else is on your money team?
Um, so I have one of my best friends who
Mhm.
kind of like doesn't really spend, just kind of like doesn't care about that stuff. And he's one of those guys who kind of always finds the wrong in what you do so you can see from a different perspective. And then I actually just a lot of my patients are, big in corporate money, big in private equity and stuff like that. And you kind of ask those questions of how you should understand money. And then I have an accountant team who kind of go over every business individually, and they kind of
Mhm.
break down spending. They break down, how much you should be saving per year, how much you be saving per month and per quarter, and then we kind of go over it that way as well. So I have about four people who kind of I sit there, and I'm the first person to say, I want to go do this. I want to put money here. I want to go buy this place, and they go, no. You could do it this way. I said to, and I always say to them, your job is to find me strategies on to do what I want to do. That's it. I wanna do something crazy, you find it a way to make it so I can do the crazy, and I'm still gonna be living the life I wanna live, so your job is to create strategies, my job is to make up the crazy things, and then we'll all work together in harmony.
All right, last question. Mike, how do you dance with your numbers today? How would you describe the dance with your numbers today?
Um, it's like watching the winner of Dancing with Stars every year. I'm
Oh,
constantly getting so good at it, dancing with it, learning more about it, and I would say every quarter, I kinda, like, research new ways of like I put like in a I have like a strategy kind of like goal list, and every quarter I want to learn a new way of making money that's not necessarily what I'm used to in my business. So
oh,
I'm not saying this is for me, but people might say, "Oh, look at real estate." So I'll
yeah,
research that for a while to understand, hey, how do people generate income, passive income through this way? How do people understand the business? And then I look at it from a stock portfolio strategy. Why is the S&P doing this, or what's the market look like in the next 4 to 5 years, and how does this affect me down the road? Because I think understanding the projections of life versus living in the moments, which is hard if you don't have financial security to do that. If you
yeah.
project 5, 10 years into the future, you can be semi-retired for me, semi-retired at 50,
Mm.
which would be really nice.
I love that. It sounds like you can almost be the lead in a
Yes,
dance with your
absolutely.
numbers at this point. Mike, thank you for being on Dancing with Numbers in Real Life with me. Thank you for your vulnerability and being honest and even sharing for my book, Dancing with
Absolutely.
Numbers. How can people find you? Is it IG
Um,
website?
you can find me on IG. You can find me on the website. IG is MC Petrina. Website is michaelcpetrina.com, my name, or you can find me at Prime Performance, which is a website as well, Prime Performance or performbyprime.com.
Performed by
And
Prime.
yeah, performbyprime.com. Tons of information if you guys reach out to me. I never respond immediately, but I always will respond. So
Yes.
questions, comments, concerns, or anything like that, I'm more than happy to help out.
Well, thank you, Michael, one more time. I want to thank everybody who's out there in the LinkedIn universe. for your conversation. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the bottom because Mike and or I can respond to them later on. Stay tuned for next month's episode of Dancing with Numbers in Real Life. Again, my name is Trisha Tate, CEO of FinCore, author of Dancing with Numbers. Let me know your feedback. How you feeling about, these conversations, these money conversations that I'm having with business owners. Again, thank you, Mike. And I know you got to go to work.
Yep.
So
Perfect timing,
have a
actually.
look
Thank
at
you so
that. Look
much.
at
I
God.
know. I know.
Look at God. Have an
All
awesome
right.
day, and I'll connect with you another time.
Thank you so much for the